Hello and welcome to the MMG podcast. Today we're joined by Roberto from NDI. Hello, Roberto. How are we doing?
Hey, good.
Good,
Fantastic.
good,
And
good.
thank you for inviting me.
No problem at all, mate. No problem at all. So we're kind of following up on a webinar that we did, what would be now a couple of weeks back. We've been talking to some of the people involved with that, and we're also talking to other sort of people within the industry about all sorts of things on this podcast, really. But the idea is that we get to know a bit about you, and we also sort of dip into NDI as a company as well. So I'm going to fire a few questions at you. If we go on a
Okay.
tangent, we go on a tangent. It's all good. It's quite relaxed. So first of all, what got you into this industry?
Oh, so when I was teenager, I was trying to be a musician. And, to buy my guitars and bass, one day my father told me, "Oh, you want more money? Help me." And my father was a computer guy and, was the how to explain what was the computer in the middle of 80 was giant stuff. And so my to raise some money, I was repairing this huge board, changing, soldering chip. And so then one day we received the first personal computer. And I remember there was some graphic capability in the computer with some language. Was a Wang computer, an American company, was a competitor for IBM at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get in love with graphic. And so a few years later, uh, I convinced my father to do an investment because I wanted to do 3D animation. And this is the start of my journey in this market, because then I met this company in Italy that was distributing this product. They offered me a job. I become the technical demo guy, and so on and so on. And so one day I met a guy in France that was distributing Newtek product, and I built all the channel for Newtek in part of Europe. The next step, I moved to video production. I built my own company. And in 2019, when Vizarti acquired Newtek, they offered me a position in Europe as a regional product manager. And then step by step, at some point, Vizarti made NDI as an independent company, and they offered me again a position in NDI. And here I am. So it's probably 26 years that I'm involved with Newtek and now with NDI. So it's a long story.
So you've seen a few bits along the way then.
Right.
I mean, that takes me on to the next bit actually, which is to sort of look at maybe what's changed since you've started. I don't know, maybe just sort of a comparison of start to now, I guess, rather than all in between. But it's got to be a big jump, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I've seen in my life, I've seen huge jump in terms of technology. I remember the first, and this is quite funny. With my father, we was repairing the first hard drive. It was 10 megabyte, and was a giant machine with two big discs, 10 megabyte. Today you have gigabyte in a small chip, no?
Yeah, yeah.
And so year after year, what I've seen was a tremendous, improvement in technology, and the real big change for me has been to be able to do live production with IT technology, moving away from the the old way of making live production.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this is the biggest change ever because I mean this is breaking the rules, is breaking barriers. You can do so many more things, and is a new way to uh, build live production and communication. No, is
Hmm.
really changing, and I think one of the biggest advantage is that, you know, taking the computer knowledge in the video production industry is really a giant step forward. People need to learn. I mean, video guys, they need to learn. This opportunity is a new challenge in terms of education,
Hmm.
knowledge, etc., etc. But the advantage are unbelievable.
Well, this is all about education, isn't it? It's all about
Right.
people
Yeah, I
learning
think
new
so.
bits, not being scared of it. I was talking to Dan from Bird Dog the other day, actually, around this sort of subject, and we were saying that, do you remember Dan Dugan coming in play, and like, went into digital sound desks, and all of all of the sound engineers that we work with, they were all sort of like, oh, a little bit ruffled. They were kind of like, oh, you're just going to take our job. It's going to do the stuff for you.
Yeah,
It's like, no, it's not. It's going to drive. You're going to supervise it. If there's a problem, you're going to resolve it. And ultimately, there's times where your human instinct is going to be more valuable than the algorithm. And then
absolutely.
as time goes on, there you go. That's exactly how it is. No one had a problem. It just makes things smoother. And I think this is the same. It's the same, but just in a different flavor.
Right. The reality is that, you know, production company, broadcaster, they make money per output. No,
Hmm.
every time you need to do more, you need to generate a new output. And so if you do it by hardware, usually it's painful. Sometimes it's even impossible, you know. I remember one of the discussion in a broadcaster with a broadcaster here in Italy years ago was, you know, the challenge they have increasing the I/O in their SDI router, you know, moving from 512, I don't remember the number, to 1000 something. For them was, you know, the plan took, I don't know, more than 1 year.
Hmm.
Uh, and there was a lot of work around, you know, building, cabling. Uh, Now today, I mean, you don't see the limit of what you can do with IT based, you know, and computer based technology.
Hmm.
Sometimes, yes, okay, I need to buy a new network switch, but that's it, no?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just like
And
core
this is
upgrades.
where the cost per output is a fraction compared to uh, what usually is with SDI, for example.
Hmm.
And it's not only that, it's the flexibility. And I believe you have the same experience with your production company. So with hardware based technology, at some point you was forced to say to the customer, oh, I'm over, I mean, this is over, I cannot do more. Today with a technology like NDI and software application, it's very difficult that you say no. uh,
Exactly,
of
exactly.
course, the thing is more difficult to justify that you need to charge more usually. You
Well,
need
this
more
is this
stuff.
is again a problem, though, isn't it? Right, because there's this whole thing around the sort of ecology of it, and actually for the end client, like we've taken the standpoint now that actually we should embrace that, because if we can go, well, actually you don't need a separate video world and streaming world. Actually, they come together. Um, that increases the flexibility in what people can do, so they can have remote callers. Someone's
Right.
missed their plane, that kind of thing. That happened just the other day for us, and then it wasn't like, oh well, there's a big problem here, guys, we're going to need to bring loads of kit in. It was just, okay, I'll send a couple of emails, we'll get it together. Within half an hour we changed the way it was going to be. And you just can't do that otherwise. But I do think that the cost benefit should go towards the client as well, and that it should be sort of like a bridge in between. Not that we should secretly gain a bigger margin, but actually that we should make the economy better
Right.
for what they get.
And even for, I think that this is an opportunity in terms of job. I mean, if I think this market is looking for people that are smart, connecting the dot. I need to do this, and for do this, I can use this tool, this tool, this tool. You know, this is a new job opportunity. Be curious, be smart, learn. For example, in this specific, let's say, knowledge, AI is a big help.
Hmm.
Sometimes, and it happened to me when I don't know something or I need to improve my knowledge, I start using AI, and then because I'm not just copy and paste, I have some background. I can understand if AI is saying something wrong or is relevant.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is the new opportunity, even in terms of job. People curious, people able to connect the dot, to understand the tools to use, to learn.
So have you seen, because obviously you sort of see more of a top-down perspective on this. So AV companies that you sort of speak to or see and see different things, maybe even on social media, that kind of thing. Are you seeing like across the board this embrace of the technology, or are you seeing more of a sort of fight that's like, no, we like it the way it was. We want to keep all of our kit that's in the warehouse
um
exactly the same. Like, is there any sort of I don't
I
know, like
think depend
friction?
of, yeah, probably depend of the market. For example, I clearly see that Obi-Wan company, they are still using SDI, and they will move probably to 2110.
Hmm.
And there is a reason for that, because uh, so I'm the video production I'm doing as an Obi-Wan company is not my content, no, is a customer content. So I need to provide, saying that my output is uncompressed is a value, no.
Hmm.
For sure there will be some new technology there too. Some workflow makes sense. In some workflow will make sense, NDI or SRT, I don't know. But in general, I would say that all the companies that produce content for third party will probably stay in SDI, or they will move in 2110. If I produce the content for myself, this is one of the area where I need to be agile, because I need to produce more. And then there are the other production company uh, that are working in a different market, like event, corporate, etc., etc. There need to be agile, and I believe this is your experience.
Hmm. Well,
uh,
so this is my experience for sure, but
right.
uh, I don't think it replicates everywhere, and that's part of
No.
what we're trying to do as well when we're talking and showing these things. Like, we turn up on site for jobs either like in the context of a white label, so we sit behind another company and we are just the expert in terms of the streaming and actually producing
Right.
the output and things. But once we step into the realm of working with the larger format, so more of our own clients when we're delivering full production, the way the control area looks is like it doesn't even look like it used to. There's a sound desk. That's probably the only similarity. Everything else is based around computers, software, switches,
Right.
networks. Like we've been tasked with making sure everything's robust. So that's one of
Right.
our things is redundancy and making
Yeah.
sure it's robust. So we'll have like NDI decoders at the endpoints for screens, like relay screens or the screens on the stage, that kind of thing. And we even have fallover built into them, so that if for some reason what we're doing and what we're sending to those screens it became interrupted or had a problem, it just falls over straight to the graphics machine that's also outputting NDI. So it just creates all of these opportunities to actually build in more robust situations.
Right.
But then there's other companies that we work with, and actually we have to set up both systems. We've got NDI running, and then the backup is the SDI. Originally, like when it was just coming out of COVID, we'd do that, and basically the company would assume that our primary was SDI, and they'd be like, "Oh, glad it didn't fall over. We didn't have to go to NDI." Like, well,
Right.
actually, what we did is the primary was NDI, the backup was actually fall over NDI, and then the third layer was the SDI. So it's just, for us, we've just got so much confidence. I think that might be the swaying point, is that more people need to see more people succeeding in the space
I
to
agree.
make the jump, you know?
And sometimes a hybrid solution is needed because, for example, if there is some production where you need the zero latency, and sometimes this happen, the solution, the cheapest and easiest solution today is still SDI. And then, being able to set up an hybrid workflow sometimes is the way to win, no? Because you take all the advantage of the IT based production, NDI, etc., but then you still have the the opportunity to use SDI in some specific area of your production. That's it. I think the next big revolution will be on audio, because, as you said before, I mean, today sometimes the only uh, hardware device you have in your production is the mixing desk. I believe this will be the next revolution. I mean, moving from hardware to software, even the audio. Not easy, because I mean, audio people are so in love with their physical device. But again, there are so many advantages moving to software that this is going to happen.
Noise boys, they will definitely have different perspectives. I mean, there's some people that still go and they'll go for the Midas analog desk, won't they, front of house, because of the sound, because of the
Right.
preamps and stuff like that. So, and that I think that's great. Like, it's true artistry, in terms of what they're doing. But there's loads of use cases for it to just digitize, especially in the corporate market, because actually what we want is to deploy as quickly as possible and then have our eyes on the client and actually make sure that their experience is great, because that's part of it, isn't it? The service to those people. And if we can concentrate more on that and less on, is it going to work? We've got a problem. We need to change a cable. We need to do all these things. Then, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know. Personally, we're already fully embracing it. But, I think there's more to come. And I guess it's probably the sort of small to mid-sized companies that will move first, because they're the ones that are not inhibited by the warehouse with the big kit and the things that need to go out before they can, do their 3-year cycle and then move on to the next piece of hardware,
I agree.
software.
There is even in the big guys, broadcaster, because of the cloud production, they are forced to move in this area, and this is very interesting. I was in LA 1 month ago for an event organized by AWS. Was a test production in AWS facility in LA, and was very interesting because there was all those company like Vizarti, Grass Valley, Ross, TVU Networks, etc., Telos Alliance, all working together, simulating this live production and trying to push the limit on the number of stream, etc. Of course, everything was NDI. And this was very interesting because there are area, even in the broadcast market, where this technology is completely accepted, no? And so, again, I think coming back to the concept that, you need to do more, you need to generate more output, this cloud production is very interesting, because it's a simple way to add content to your production and, to the value of what you do. Was an interesting experience. And again, this is happening. And for example, in cloud, even audio mixing is software.
And I've seen, obviously, because with the announcement of the AWS NDI, like, that seems to be a bit of a game changer as well. But what we're thinking about here quite a lot now is the endpoint, because obviously the production happens, it goes to the cloud or it comes through whatever way. Like we're starting to think that maybe production as a whole, like especially for corporate as well, maybe that changes. Maybe the endpoint isn't that you get, loads of people to send on the venue, a van full of kit and everything else, but maybe that stays in facilities, studios, that kind of thing. And all of that stuff comes into the studio and we have full control of the screens in the room from where we are. And that actually what happens is that you just deploy a project manager, an event facilitator, maybe like 2 people on the ground. One of them has access to all the NDI feeds, multi-views, everything else, and the other one is there for the client as usual, communicating. Actually, we've got mic 2 opening soon, all the show calling kind of things. But I don't know. I would love to hear more, like in terms of comments and things from other people about what they're thinking, and where things can go, because it feels like we're on this level now where there's a big opportunity to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is my feeling too. We are, I think, and usually, I mean, because video production is challenging, there is a lot of responsibility. Usually, everybody try to stay in their uh, comfort zone, in the backyard. But because of this new technology coming, people is starting to see, to look to look forward. They want to exit from the comfort zone because there are more opportunity probably.
I think the
And
thing is as well, it's not new, is it? It's not completely new. Like this has been going for some time and tested for some time.
right.
So I think that's the key.
Yeah, and by the way, everything. For example, you mentioned a remote guest.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the big news. I mean, if you remember before, I mean, you had to send a backpack with operator. Was very complex. The latency was very high. 3 seconds. Very difficult to have an interview. Today, with technology like WebRTC, you can do everything almost in real time. There are many tools coming. You can use, now Skype is over, but you can use Teams. You can use different technology.
Mm-hmm.
And this is opening a completely new scenario in terms of content. No, I remember last year I was involved in a live production for the Junior Grand Prix of figure skating. And this is a production that happened all over the world. I mean, the crew went to China, for example, and at some point there was one commentator on site and another in Bangkok. I remember one commentator was on site, the other commentator was in UK,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a guest in US, and nobody noticed even the latency. I mean, for the audience, those 3 guys was in the same place, but they was not. And so imagine the flexibility offered by this kind of technology. And everything was done by 5 computers, period.
Mm-hmm.
And this is unbelievable.
But this is the big changes, isn't it?
Right.
Shall I have a look? I'll see what other questions we've got as well. So we've had a look at that. Oh, I know what's interesting. So what we've asked everyone that's been on any of our podcasts is, what advice would you give someone starting out in the industry? Like, how do you get in? Is it go to university, learn everything, and then have the door magically opened, or is it repeatedly knock on doors? Like, what's the way in now these days?
Oh, depend of the country. I think university is a good start because today there are interesting course at the university, computer, etc., etc. I think is a good option. The best advice that I can say: invest your time, invest your free time, be curious, be brave, try to do stuff, ask. Don't be afraid to ask. And sometimes, and this is my experience. My first 6 months, when I decided to work with this company that was distributing computer graphic equipment at that time, one day I went there, I knocked the door, and I said, "Oh, can I spend some time here helping?" I was 20 something, I don't remember. And the guy after 3 months told me, "Oh, I need your help. I give you a job." So sometimes invest, and try to, you know, be involved in projects before asking even money. If you are curious, you want to invest your time. It's an investment. Is a way to learn. No.
So kind of prove yourself. Try
Right.
before you
Exactly.
buy. Kind of thing. Okay, cool. So I've got one other question that sort of centers around yourself, and then after that we'll sort of dive a little bit on the company side. So we've asked loads of people this. It's really interesting, actually. Do you wish that you did anything different throughout your career? Are there any clear forks where you'd be curious as to what the other path would have been?
Probably not. I mean, if I if I look back in my past, I had a lot of fun. Sometimes was hard. I had a bad experience with some company, but I've been always able to, switch and to find a solution. No, I don't think so. I think
It's good.
I would do. Yeah, I think it's,
It's all a
I
journey, isn't it? That's the thing. Like
right.
a lot of it is just things present
Usually,
themselves.
and so this is a kind of is between a serious, way of thinking and a joke, because I've been involved in sales for almost 20 years. For a sales guy, the past is always embarrassing because if you have sold more, you are selling less today, no? And then tomorrow you always need to sell more. So the past is always thinking of the past is always
You
it's
just
not
keep raising the bar for yourself.
right. And on top of this, the money you have done last year are gone. So and this is my way. I mean, I'm thinking what to do now and tomorrow. The past is the past. Bye bye.
Just keep going.
Probably because my background.
It's always strive to do more, isn't it? But then at some point, I guess you can't. Like that's the end, isn't it? You can't do more if you've done everything.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move over towards the sort of company side of things then, mate. And let's have a look at that. So, just a few generic questions. We do the same. If we go on a tangent, we go on a tangent. It's all good. So, what's the main focus of the company at the moment? So, for NDI, what's your main focus at the minute?
So on one side, we want to move, our focus from broadcast to Pro AV, and there are a lot of initiative in the Pro AV space. Audio is very important because there are interesting use case where NDI is quite unique. For example, NDI can work over wireless. Do not require any synchronization, so you can send multi-channel audio over internet, use NDI audio in the cloud, etc., etc. The other very interesting initiative is about metadata.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another area where NDI is quite unique because, you can generate an NDI stream without video and audio, but with metadata only. And the combination between video, audio, and metadata then become very interesting. And so one of my projects was to involve third party, companies, individual to define metadata standard in NDI and to publish the metadata standard to help in terms of interoperability, no?
Mm-hmm.
For example, I found a company in Korea, Sarai Works. 2 years ago, I visited their booth. I don't remember in which trade show, and they were showing a prototype of a device that was doing DMX over NDI. No?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow, this is amazing. Why we don't publish the metadata as a standard? So another company that was to support DMX over NDI, instead of doing again and doing something different and is not compatible, as NDI, we publish this standard so everybody can use it. Of course, and if you take a look on the website today, we have a section about the metadata. Of course, we credit the first company that did that. DMX over NDI is by Sarah work, so they have the full credit of what they have done.
Mm-hmm.
But this is helping the NDI community. If another company want to do, or even individual, or even production company, if you have some coding capability, and this is happening more often, I mean, you can use the same way of supporting this kind of metadata in NDI, and that's it. And so in the future, I think metadata is important to, again, look forward. I mean, moving out from the comfort zone of the video and audio production. My dream is I want to use NDI to turn on my coffee machine.
Why not?
Why not?
What about NDI Bridge? Because that seems to me something that is, well, we have used it previously, and there were certain points at which it was sort of development point, really. So it wasn't something that we could necessarily deploy and things. It seems recently, from our perspective, as though things have changed within that. Is that something that is sort of game changing, or is it just something that you've enhanced and that's...
So NDI Bridge is very important, and I believe is a game changer for the philosophy of this technology. So compared to other technology that move video and audio over internet, NDI Bridge is something different. It interconnects NDI infrastructure. And this is quite big. For us, in terms of R&D resources, been a huge investment. Of course, there is still a lot of space for improvement, but the actual version of NDI Bridge is, I would say, solid, with a lot of interesting features like statistics, etc., etc. But the real big advantage with NDI Bridge is, again, that if I give you my IP address, port, and encryption key, you connect to my bridge, and you will see all my NDI device in my network, and then you can decide to interconnect, to receive some camera But on top of this, NDI Bridge is completely transparent. It's not only the fact that you have the same experience in terms of discovery and exchange of stream as in your local area network, but we can transport the multi-channel audio and metadata. And this is, again, huge. So, for example, DMX over NDI, I can technically turn on the light in your studio from my place because I can transport metadata over NDI, and Bridge is just transparent. It's creating a sort of VPN between the two infrastructure. Again, there is space of improvement. When we transcode from NDI bandwidth to NDI HX, today we transcode in 420. That is great for some market, but for some other market is in broadcast, for example, is not ideal. Broadcast require 422 transcoding. I would say that NDI in general is variable bitrate. Some vertical use case require constant bitrate. I don't think we will go in that direction because we are computer guys.
Changes things.
I mean, but in general, I think NDI Bridge step by step will be a game changer. Imagine, and today we have NDI Bridge for embedded device. So we have some camera manufacturer that is starting to implement NDI Bridge directly in a camera. But imagine what will happen if you will be able tomorrow to run NDI Bridge in a digital audio mixer. And then we have a MIDI over NDI proposed by Llama And so, I mean, again, if you connect the dot, you clearly see the direction, the future direction of where is going this technology. And by the way, because of Bridge, I will be able to turn on my coffee machine in even on
And this is
from,
the important point,
America.
isn't it? Because this is
Right.
the dream. So clearly,
Right.
when you started your journey with NDI, the end goal was coffee machine on.
Of course. Of
Why
course.
not? Okay, so we've talked a little bit about AI actually already. So I don't think we'll go into that question, but that's fine. I've got another one here of how will NDI be further utilized in event delivery? I think we've kind of touched on that really. And again, it's more of a question of whether we have, well, what's on the end? What's on the other end? Is it a network that's within a building and that you've got a control center, or is it literally that endpoint is so far removed it could be in a different country and still produce the show? Like it is limitless.
Yeah.
Let me have a look what else we've got. So, so with your software, so for example, NDI Bridge, Monitor View, all those things. How does someone go about putting that into something they're doing? Like, is that something that's free for anyone to incorporate, or do they need to talk to you to integrate that into their product or system?
You mean Bridge?
Well, any of them really, but yeah, I mean, if you wanted to put Bridge in a product, I've seen a few popping up. Do they do that? Do they work with you, or do they have to just, how does it work?
So in general, the business model is very simple. If you use, let's say this, if you use NDI as a user, the technology is free to use. So it's not only, I mean, of course, you do live production using NDI is part of your activity, your business. We are not interested to charge you. We are interested to charge, and this is basically the business model. If you use NDI for commercial reason, you create product with NDI. This is business, and this is where we discuss and charge royalties on the usage of NDI. And I think is a fair way. And by the way, our approach on the business point of view, I believe has been wise, because the reality in terms of adoption, I mean, are saying the truth. I mean, NDI is everywhere. Sometimes is in place that we even do not imagine, because the business approach was the right one. And again, one of our main focus is adoption, and this is one of the reasons why we offer the free NDI tools, because on one side, thanks to the free NDI tools, everybody can start producing their content even without spending a coin. Sometimes you just download the free NDI tools, OBS Studio, you have a camera connected to your computer, and you can start creating your content.
But it started for us actually with screen capture.
No,
because
right.
in COVID, we
Exactly.
needed a way of doing stuff, and it was all video
Exactly.
cards and loads of
Yeah.
matrices, and it was just like, this would solve it a lot quicker.
And this is great. I mean, you don't need to use your credit card to do it, but one day you will. There's a point where you will need an equipment. You will need to make a step forward, and now I need a real PTZ camera, or I need a software application more flexible, etc., etc. Of course, and this is the process.
No, I think it's good. At the end of the day, it seems to work well. And in terms of what you're saying there within a model, like, the people that stand to gain financially are the ones that are contributing. So it kind of makes sense, Okay, let me just have a quick check of what else we've got.
There is something that I would like to add in terms of business model, because sometimes the debate is NDI is proprietary, there are open source technology. And I believe this is an important, discussion and concept. Usually open source, I mean, in my experience, there are many company involved, individual company, but usually all those company, they try to take advantage for themselves, with this kind of technology. And this is slowing down the process of, improvement, development, etc., etc. I mean, usually open source are slow to react to the market needs. Because NDI is proprietary. I mean, we take care of the future, we listen, we react, and we improve easily the technology because it's our technology and this is the source of our revenue. No, that's it.
Cool. I mean, from our perspective as well, like, to be fair, we have been a little bit cagey, like early doors, especially when COVID was happening and we were working out how to do things and working out where things would go. Like, I didn't even know if actually in-person events would come back at all at the initial point, which was the driving force behind the development that we did, basically. But yeah, no, we've reached a point now where actually we're looking and we're seeing that people are behind in like a number of ways that they don't need to be. And that is now our sort of end goal, is actually to educate people and to train as well. There's a number of things that we do working with various companies to train the people within the context of, say, for example, they've got a new setup that's installed. It's got vMix, it's got, various cameras, whatever. And the people that are there, it's great technology, but they don't all know how to use it or how to leverage the advantages fully. So we're going in and telling people about that. And it feels like the events that we're doing and the scalability, basically the large scale of what we do, is built on that experience and built on that level, which is great. So rather than sort of keeping it all under wraps and go, no, this technology is just for us, it's more about sharing now and changing what's going on so everything integrates and talks to each other.
Yeah, and this is, by the way, very interesting. There are, and I totally agree. Sharing is one of the key of success, and this is my attitude too. When I'm involved in live production, I like to share knowledge, even to competitor. I don't care. I mean, because at the end is a global grow, and in long term, if you share the knowledge, you help adoption. You help people to feel safe using your technology. Just, I mean, in general, no.
Yeah, this is like public awareness campaigns, isn't it? Like,
Right.
I think there was one back, this was years and years ago, actually, in the market where they just basically kind of put adverts out and things that said tea's great, pretty much, just broadly tea. And it was funded by all of the tea companies that wanted to increase the market. And, when people come together, that's what happens. Things change. Not to say that tea is great, but, that sort of vein anyway. Roberto, is there anything else you wanted to say or sort of put in at all, or you're all happy there, mate?
Oh, I would say just use NDI, be curious, have fun, and dream the future turning on a coffee machine.
That's it. I'm expecting like an almighty social reel for the first time that happens, mate. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thanks to you.
I have to just do a quick wrap up, which is quite shameless, really, but I'm going to do it anyway.
That's okay.
So please share, like, and then you'll be able to see more episodes of the podcast. You'll be able to see more webinars, all sorts of information that we're sharing at the moment. If you do want to reach out to us, you can do. It's mmg@mmgevents.co.uk. Thanks for listening.